Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome into the 143. This is Under Review coming at you live with episode 205. Nick, how are we doing today?
205 in the books, well on our way to 300. Got that anniversary coming up here in about a month or so.
Yes, sir.
So that'll be interesting to see. But
4 years.
Yeah, 4 years in the books. We had a great week of NFL football. Here to bring it to you, and we're just excited.
Yep, we are excited as football is underway and still going on. College playoffs start here this upcoming weekend. Shout out to Texas A&M as they take on Miami at home. Unfortunately, we will be watching the postseason without the Dallas Cowboys, as we'll talk about here in a sec. But we all expected that. Nick and I have been saying that for a long time. We're going to dive into it. Stat of the week brought to you by our sponsor, Andrews Logistics, has a lot to do with the Cowboys and our defense. Matt Eberflus, our defensive coordinator, was the head coach of the Bears for 3 or 4 years before coming to Dallas after getting fired. Dallas went 0-3-1 against the NFC North this year. In those 4 games, the opposing offenses scored 31, 40, 44, and 34. So Dallas did not get a win against the NFC North. The defense gave up at least 30 points a game. And that says a lot about the defensive coordinator who faced those offenses for 3 or 4 years straight, twice a year each, and could still not figure out how their offense worked or how to defend it. I think that stat right there is about as fireable of a defense as I've ever seen.
I was going to say, from that alone, even though it's only 4 games, that should get you fired. I mean, those are schemes that you should be somewhat familiar with where you at least expect what's coming. Not saying you have to win those games, because obviously there's, offense, defense, special teams, but to be that bad defensively against offenses that you've seen as a head coach for multiple years,
unacceptable.
That's just,
inexcusable.
We weren't even competitive in those games. Like, we were competitive in the Packers game, but that's because our offense put up 40 points.
And when we needed the defense to make one stop, they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
In that game. So, I mean, it's not like it was the NFC East that he's never played before and he had some bad games against them. That was his old division that he spent very, very long, a lot of time in and still couldn't get the job done. So I don't think we'll be seeing Eberflus next year.
We've been calling for his head for the entire season, essentially. Yeah. But, looking at that stat alone, you should be like, he has no business being a defensive coordinator. But your player of the week, Trevor Lawrence. The Jacksonville Jaguars hosted the New York Jets, and he had a career day as the Jags are moving at a steady pace, steady incline towards the end of the season, trying to take control of their division. He threw for 330 yards, 5 passing touchdowns, ran for 51 yards, and ran a touchdown, and ran one in for a touchdown. So,
Jags are going to win their division this year.
Kind of a good. I mean, the Jets aren't a good team, but when you play bad teams like that, that's how you want to win. That's good on you for beating a team that should be beat like that. They had no business being on the same field as you. They've just been horrible all season long. So that's what you should do when you play a team of that caliber: is put up 48 and have a career day.
Exactly. Bills Patriots. Patriots up 21-0. Everybody tweeting Patriots are the real deal. They're going to win the Super Bowl. Yada yada yada. And Josh Allen dusts the snow off his shoulder. Says, "Let me handle this." Goes in and wills the Bills to a victory, coming back from a 21-0 deficit and essentially winning 35-31. I don't think this really says much about the Patriots, as we know they're a good team. They had won 10 straight before this. And they're gearing up for playoffs. It's very hard to sweep a division opponent, and it's probably especially hard when it's the Bills. So you're not going to win every game you play against them. But Josh Allen played like the reigning MVP. He had a great game, and offense really locked in. The defense really locked in, and I think both of these teams are really good, and it's going to come down. I mean, they could see each other again in the playoffs. That's a very possible scenario. But right now, the Bills are catching fire when you need to catch fire. They're playing their best football in December.
Yeah, the last couple of weeks they've been really good. Also, thinking about how they've been playing when they're down. I mean, people were, like Joseph was saying, they were already talking about how basically the Patriots have already won the game, swept the series against the Bills, yada, yada, yada. And, they come out and you got to play 4 full quarters of football to, win a game. And the Bills, fire back and they win the game. Two running backs in that game, James Cook, Travion Henderson, having some career days in a very meaningful game. Travion Henderson, he's been extremely productive the last couple of weeks. He was a hot commodity, I would say, when he came out of the draft. People expected some big things from him, and then beginning of the season, the offensive scheme looked kind of weird with him in it, but they've been implementing him more, and he's just been filthy the last few weeks. The Patriots, I don't think this is,
no, nothing to be scared about.
Jump ship or whatever, overreacting. They're in a good spot. We know what they're capable of. Drake May's still a good quarterback. They've got a good receiving core. We know who Vrabel is. We know what that defense looks like. So I think they're going to come back strong from it. I mean, they'd won 10 straight up to that point, so you can't sit there and trash them for that long. But they ultimately came up short, unfortunately.
Yep. And then I guess I skipped over the Thursday night game. We'll briefly mention that game as the Falcons, with 19 accepted penalties in the game for the Falcons, somehow find a way to win on a field goal at the very end and beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs have been floundering for the last few weeks, and they've just been going downhill. Nobody really knows why. A lot of people are speculating there's a problem that Todd Bowles has lost the locker room. Whatever it is, but Kyle Pitts just had the absolute game of his life. He had 11 catches, 166 yards, and 3 touchdowns. If you had him in your fantasy team, you would be very happy, finally, with Kyle Pitts this week. But just wanted to highlight that because Kyle Pitts, you don't normally see him having any kind of good days. He's got a reputation for being a high fantasy pick and not doing anything every season. So pretty crazy game from him on a Thursday night.
Yeah, all this did was, year in, year out, there's hype about it's finally going to be his season, and so this is going to be viewed as like the breakthrough game where, I don't think everyone will fall for the hype just because we've seen this time and time again, but there are going to be people that fall for it again next season just because he's going to finish out the season with, some decent numbers, but the Buccaneers fall to 7-7 after a hot start, and people talking about Baker Mayfield. I mean, we even said it on here, like he was supposed to be in the MVP conversation, but they have just been slowly on the decline, and couldn't really tell you why because they've got Mike Evans back. They got Chris Godwin back.
All their guys are back.
Bucky, like all those guys who had been injured and missed multiple games during the season, they're back to full strength now.
I mean, the defense gave up a 3rd and 28 at the end of that game to shut the Falcons out, gave them a first down. I mean, that was pretty bad. That's what really did them in. They've got a lot to figure out over there in Tampa. Right now, they're just trying to focus on beating Carolina and making it into the playoffs. We'll see if they can even do that. But moving on to Chargers-Chiefs, this one's just significant. We'll briefly talk about this. It was an awful game, not much of a game on either side, but Patrick Mahomes tore his ACL, and the Chiefs were knocked out of the playoffs for the first time since me and Nick were in middle school. So it's been a long time since we haven't seen the Chiefs in the playoffs. It's been 9 straight years of them winning the AFC West. So, it's going to be interesting to not see the Chiefs in the playoffs. The Bills are happy because that's the only team they really lose to in the playoffs. So now they don't have that mental chip on their shoulder. But, it's just been a rough year for Kansas City. They have not been able to figure anything out on offense, and Travis Kelce seems really washed. Patrick Mahomes, he's still a good quarterback, but it doesn't seem like he's the guy that we're used to seeing. And hopefully he'll have a good recovery and speedy recovery. See him back out there on the field.
Yeah, obviously the game was not super interesting to watch, but it's just because it's the Chiefs that you're going to tune in because it's been, like you were saying, 9 straight AFC West titles. So, you're watching every week to see if this is going to be the breakthrough game or is this going to be the game that breaks their back. And that's ultimately what it was. You lose the game and you lose Patrick Mahomes. So you're really looking at nothing for the rest of the season, unfortunately. But we'll see what the Bills do in the playoffs now because they don't have that speed bump anymore. Don't really need to dissect this next game, but it just is worth mentioning. The Ravens-Bengals get shut out. Not a lot to say there. Joe Burrow had an awful game. He even admitted it. Not one team on Sunday would have won with him at quarterback. With how good that offense is, to get shut out is absolutely unacceptable, especially with the Ravens not being as good as they normally are. But man, Cincinnati has just lost it since that Super Bowl run that they had years ago. You just expect them to have a bounce back season because you think you know what they're capable of, but
just another disappointing season.
Always rag on the defense, and it was the offense that lost them the game this past Sunday.
Yeah, tough game for the Bengals and tough season yet again. One other team that is going to find themselves out of the playoffs, but we got to mention them because they were in the storylines, and we mentioned them last week. Phillip Rivers took the field for the Colts. The 44-year-old starting quarterback had not taken a snap, and I think it was 1,800 days or so. He came out there and he looked like a 44-year-old who hadn't played football in 5 years, that's for sure. But he was getting the job done. He was handing the ball off to Jonathan Taylor quite a bit in the game. But also when they needed him to complete passes, he was doing it. He threw for a touchdown. And at the end of the day, he got the Colts into field goal range. They kicked a field goal with 40 seconds left. But the Seahawks, that was just too much time. They drove down and kicked a game-winning field goal of their own. So I just wanted to highlight the Phillip Rivers. I mean, we grew up watching Phillip Rivers play football. I thought it was pretty cool to see him out there, but he did look like he's an old man who he did not have the zip on the ball. Well uncoordinated, but awesome to see him out there.
Yeah, you love to see it because he's a good football personality. The trash talk, just the way he carries himself, the way
you can see him yelling on the sideline.
Offense, just like old times.
Yeah.
The Colts are out of the playoffs, but if you look at it, they're only one game back. So
could he do it? Does he have it in him?
Who's to say? You never say never.
Any given Sunday.
We know he has the talent in him. Maybe he just needed 1 week to get back in the pace of the game, knock the rust off. The Colts were still in a position to win that game.
Yeah.
Against the Seahawks,
who were a good team.
Yeah, exactly. Against the Seahawks. And actually, interestingly enough, the team that they're 1 game back from is the Texans, and that's actually who the Colts end the season with. So it could come down to the wire. And
it could, and I would love to see it.
I'm going to be honest. I would be all in on the Colts. They're not doing anything of value, but it would just be so cool to see.
Just like Joe Flacco a few years ago on the Browns, bringing them to the playoffs and playing in the playoffs. I would love to see Phillip Rivers do. This is even crazier because he's 44.
And he was retired and came back.
Yeah, so I would love to see that. We're here for the Phillip Rivers hype.
Old gunslingers getting the call and coming back and just spinning.
I'm not going to lie. Tom Brady's probably so mad he bought part of the Raiders right now because I know he really wants to do this right now, seeing Phillip Rivers do it. And honestly, Tom probably could come back and throw it.
He probably could. He looks like he's still in pretty decent shape. Unlike Phillip Rivers, who looked like he could be, he was one donut away from being a lineman or something.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's
never
something there. The season is not over. Okay.
And big game of the week was the Lions-Rams game. And this was about kind of how everybody thought it would go, a very offensive game. Jared Goff had 338, 3 touchdowns. Matthew Stafford, 368, 2 touchdowns. I mean, just a lot of passing yards in this game. The Rams ended up winning it. They are the better team. They have the better offense. They have the better defense right now. The Lions still have playoff hopes alive, but they will most likely be settling. Well, not most likely. They will be settling for wild card if they make it into the playoffs at this point. But Amon-Ra had a great day, 13 catches, 164 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Jameson Williams had 7 catches, 134 yards, and a touchdown. Their receivers came out to ball, but the defense just could not stop Puka Nacua and the run game for the Rams. Puka had 181 yards and 9 catches. And, Matthew Stafford, he's been spinning the ball really well. If the Rams can hold on to the 1 seed in the NFC and every game will be played at SoFi in the playoffs for the NFC side, I don't know who the Rams would lose to this year.
I mean,
they look really good.
I think there was mention of Matthew Stafford possibly, maybe retiring at the end of the season. Talks of it maybe being his last year. But, I mean, he's 37 years old, and he's in the MVP conversation. Not saying he's going to win.
He's having a great year.
But he's at least in that conversation, and the Rams are 11-3, and it's not like he's
the 1 seed right now,
carried by this offense. He's out there commanding this team week in and week out. I mean, he's still got it,
Yeah, as long as they keep their O-line.
Some good years left in him. The defense had a little bit of an off week, giving up 34 points, but, I mean, this is against – the Detroit Lions have a track team out there. You've got
everybody's quick.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, and then, I mean, David Montgomery's not a particularly fast guy, but he's a power back who can beat you. And for them to, I mean, it just turned into a shootout, which is kind of what we were prepared for. And, they just, in the end, Lions couldn't hang with the Rams, so, they move on. Detroit's still in a position where they can get something done, but we'll just have to see.
Their defense has been an issue for them.
Packers-Broncos, not a lot there from that game. The main headline is Micah Parsons tearing his ACL.
Yep.
Big part of their defense that they are, unfortunately losing out on. Broncos go on to win that game 34-26. They move on to 12-2. The Broncos have had kind of an interesting season just because they've been winning games. Yeah. They've been winning games, but they've all been very, 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 very close games. And it's like, it doesn't matter who they're playing. If they're playing a good team, if they're playing a bad team, they play at the level of their opponent, and they are squeaking out these wins. I mean, you can't hate on them because they're 12-2, but you just kind of question the caliber of play there, because they beat the Commanders by 1, they beat the Raiders by 3, they beat the Giants by 1, the Jets by 2. You got to give
Bo Nix credit for this game, though. He had a good game. He threw for 4 touchdowns. I would say this is one of the better offensive games they've had against a pretty good defense. Stinks that Micah tore his ACL. We don't wish that on Micah. But hopefully he comes back and he's still the same caliber player that he was. But that's tough for the Packers because they're going to go to the playoffs and they need their edge rusher out there to at least instill some fear, because I'm just going to be honest, he hasn't done much this year. But
they're going to need him on first and second down because he doesn't play on third down and meaningful downs. But
we're not here to kick him in when he's down.
50% that he's going to
We don't want to kick him in when he's down, and the Cowboys aren't making playoffs. But at least Kenny Clark's healthy. All right, that's all I'm saying. Okay, and our first round draft pick is fine. So
let's go, baby.
All right, we just kicked the man while he was down. I said we weren't going to do that, but we did it anyways. All right, so Vikings, Cowboys, there's not a whole lot here to unpack. There's really nothing about the game that needs to be unpacked. This was the nail in the coffin that, honestly, the season needed. I don't want to watch this team in the playoffs. Nick doesn't want to watch this team in the playoffs. And America doesn't want to watch this team in the playoffs. The defense is atrocious.
We all were sensing what was about to happen. We knew how bad the Vikings were. And yes, they put up 34 points, but they're still garbage. That is just a testament to how bad the Dallas Cowboys defense is and has been this entire season. Okay? J.J. McCarthy is terrible. And you would think that we were playing prime Tom Brady out there or something, you know. And the thing that's lucky about all the teams that we play against is their quarterback gets to have a career day or something like that, you know. And the epitome of that was when we played the Giants at home at the beginning of the season, and Russell Wilson has the game of his life and then gets benched 2 weeks later because that's how bad he actually was. He threw for like 500 yards.
Jacoby Brissett has been a good quarterback this season, but we also kind of got him his starting job for the rest of the year. You know, we made the world completely dismiss the Caleb Williams not being a good quarterback debates as we cemented him as a good quarterback again after playing us. You know, we gave Jordan Love a career day. Bo Nix had a career day on us. I think I saw a stat that 8 of the teams that we've played have had one of their top 2 scoring games against us this season. And like the stat we started the show off with, you know, I mean, it's unacceptable. There's really no other way to put it. The defense is awful. Now, the offense did not play great. I don't think we were very aggressive in this game. And Brandon Aubrey finally had a bad game. And I'm really not faulting Brandon Aubrey here because the season's not on Brandon Aubrey. And let's be real, we win this game. Like with losing the Lions game, that was kind of when it was over. We had to win out. That was what we had to do. We had to win out, and losing to the Lions is kind of what sealed the deal. But yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, because even then we were saying to even be relevant, you would have to run the table. So losing out to the Lions.
And then hope the Eagles lose.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, and they won't.
They've got, I mean, they play the Raiders this week. Or this past week, and they blanked them, and then
they'll play the Commanders twice. So I mean, they'll probably lose to the Bills, but they're playing the Commanders twice with no Jaden Daniels. I don't think it looks great for the Commanders at this point. So, you know, hopefully the Eagles get bounced first round. That's what we need.
People were calling for J.J. McCarthy's job, and then all of a sudden this week. They're questioning, is he actually good? Has he figured it out? Is this something? And it's like, we've been watching the Cowboys for 16 weeks?
Yeah. We've been watching them now for 14 weeks.
Yeah. 14 weeks, whatever. And it's like, it's the same thing week in, week out. It does not matter who the quarterback is. He's going to look like the most valuable player.
I do think the Cowboys will finish 8-1, which was my prediction a couple months ago. I said we have a legit chance to go 8-1. It is nearly impossible to finish a 17-game season at 500.
It was one of those things where, like, once they tied the Packers, you kind of got that feeling where it's like, okay, that's an actual possibility just because of how mediocre this is.
And that would be what we do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But we'll have an episode after the season like we always do to just unpack the Cowboys.
Because we got the Chargers next week at home, and then Washington at Washington, and then we end the season New York at New York. So inevitably, for whatever reason,
we'll lose one of those games. I don't know which one it'll be, but
I mean. There's honestly potential that we only win one of the next 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I think the game against Washington is the one we end up losing. I just have a feeling about that game that it's not great. So, We'll unpack it after the season's over. Just know going forward, we'll probably briefly mention the Cowboys games. We won't really. I mean, there's nothing to dive into anymore. The season's over. At this point, it's just about next year, keeping the starters healthy. I mean, I would be totally fine with just benching everyone that we need for next year and resting them, but that's not going to happen. Give the ball to Joe Milton. Why not? Why not?
Who cares?
Yeah.
And then defensively, bring back Quinnen Williams.
Well,
Kenny
he's back.
Clark,
all of those guys are under contract.
And bring back Overshown. As far as I'm concerned, you can get rid of everybody else. Do not care about anybody else on the defense. See you later.
And make it a point to get rid of Diggs quick because he's a cancer in the locker room.
Yeah.
But I don't know why he thought he was special. I mean, him and Micah both gave up 30 points a game last year. So.
Yeah, I mean, Trayvon Diggs had that one season where he had a bunch of picks, but even then, he was still giving up a touchdown.
He gave up some of the most yards in the NFL
it was
that year.
He would get the most random pick of all time.
And I would love to see those picks happen again, but he's not doing it.
Yeah, you can't do that from the sideline.
Nope.
But here's to end our shows on Under Review. Brought to you a quote from Vince Lombardi, and he said, "People who work together will win, whether it be against complex football defenses or the problems of modern society." That's the truth.
Ain't that the truth? Thank you for tuning in this week. We'll see you next week, another episode of Under Review.